I think that's the best ministry we have. Also want to acknowledge Ambassador Professor Gordon Shirley. Always an honor to see you. Stephen Edwards, the Managing Director of NROC, is also here. I see Dr. Warren Vernon, the Executive Director of NERA. We also have lots of other senior technical staff from across government that's here with us. And we're very happy, as always, to have our student leaders with us at post-cabinet press briefings. We have Joel Brown, who is the president of the UTEC Student Union, and his team. We also have Malik Harris from the Kingston and St. Andrew Youth Council. And we also have student counselors from Arden High School and Immaculate Conception High School with us today. Always acknowledging members of the media, Jamaicans watching at home and abroad. Good morning again to you. So when you hear all those names and all those people who are here, you know it's a special morning. We have some very important announcements to make, and we are going to be starting off today with Minister Charles. Usually I give you a rundown of what has happened in cabinet, but on a morning like this when we have the Prime Minister, I'm sure he will tell you more about NARA. And that's really been occupying a lot of our time. It's very important. The cabinet discussions have been going very well, and we have been focused on that. A few weeks ago when I was in Westmoreland, I was able to see all of the damage again, and to see that many of our Jamaicans are still hurting, still without their homes, still without their schools. So this project that we call NARA is really important. And it's not a theoretical construct. It is something that is about rebuilding Jamaica, rebuilding the lives of those that have been affected, and putting Jamaica on a much stronger footing. And that's what we'll be talking about today. We'll be talking more about the recovery efforts, and that's going to be led by Minister Charles. And then we'll talk about reconstruction, and that will be led by our Prime Minister. So first up, we have the Honourable Pearnel Charles Jr.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I want to acknowledge, of course, our Prime Minister who is here, ministers, Cabinet Secretary, permanent secretaries, all of the specially invited guests, particularly our student leaders. Good to see you this morning. Now, whenever the Prime Minister is here, it means that whatever time you'd have expected to speak, you should shorten that by at least half. So let me be brief. I want to start by firstly saying thank you. Thank you to the several persons across the country that have reached out to us at the ministry, called us, emailed us, sent in messages, sent messages to our WhatsApp, supporting this program and supporting it by identifying persons in their community who need the help or who have been overlooked or who are persons with disabilities or senior citizens. It's an awesome collaboration of all Jamaicans, church leaders, civic leaders, individuals. And so let me start by saying thank you to you, because your information has been instrumental in allowing us to advance this program. Now, I was just advising the Prime Minister that on my dashboard, we are now at 116,000 or over 116,000 household assessments. And I'd like to clarify that, because I saw a feature on the news recently that spoke to people, and that gave the impression that there was 115,000 people that were assessed. It's not people, it's much more. If you times that by about 4, it's 116,000 households with many different multiples of persons in the families that have been assessed. And as you know, before we had around 45,000 that have been verified, which we put into phase 1 of the roofs program. So I want to tell you briefly today about the completion of phase 1 and what will happen in phase 2. For phase 1, we have over 80% of the persons that have received their voucher or received their text message and have already completed the process of either getting cash or material. For the remaining persons who have been verified and have received their text message and have not yet redeemed, we realize that they have had some challenges. And in large part, we acknowledge those challenges, and it is out of those challenges that we have been able to modify the system and to put in place what we call a much more advanced way for them to complete that process. We have developed a digital platform where beneficiaries can visit the website, and it's a long site, so bear with me. We Pay Today, that's WIPAY today.com/MLSS, which is Ministry of Labour and Social Security, /beneficiary. Let me say that one more time. WePayToday.com/MLSS/beneficiary. You put in your TRN, and the dashboard updates automatically, advising you of your status, tells you where to collect, and it allows you to follow the instructions. So all of what was before in terms of a more arduous process has been broken down, and of course we're using artificial intelligence that has been embedded into this digital platform to assist us to close off the 20% of persons for phase 1. Now, moving on to phase 2. We have a number of persons who are not yet verified. And you would have heard us in the sectoral advance a national verification initiative where we'll be working with all members of parliament, councillors, community leaders to make sure that we can bring those persons out and help them in 2 ways. Our in-field visits include the use of a system built in-house at the ministry by our experts that allows us to carry out a digital solution in field and take the data, including banking information, so we can do direct deposit. It avoids all of the hoops. You don't have to go to any agent. You don't have to wait on any hardware. You get the money directly to your bank. And to start that, we have started, CAPSEC, a pilot. So we started the in-field pilot, which was successful so far. And we will be continuing and expanding the pilot program in Hanover, because Hanover is a smaller community. So we're starting with a smaller community first. And then within 2 weeks, we'll be out in Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, and St. James to start the in-field operation, where our team will be out with that solution, working with the NPs to bring you to a space. We get your data, and we give you your money. The next option or alternative for the phase 2, and I'm winding down now, Minister. Whenever the Minister starts to look towards you, the next option for phase 2 is a similar digital platform to what we're using to complete phase 1. And that digital platform is being now tested to make sure that persons who are not able to attend to or to reach to us or to come to any one of the in-field operations, or persons who just don't have access or who choose or who don't want to use perhaps the or go by taxi anywhere, and they know how to use a computer, they'll be able to log on themselves, register on the platform, put their information in, and you will automatically be uploaded, verified, and you can get thereafter your direct deposit. The last thing I want to say, there are a number of reasons why persons have not been verified. And we went through all of that, so I won't go through those. But just to say that for the persons who provided TRN information that was incorrect, meaning either the TRN number or the name might have been incomplete, so you might be, you have a double barrel name, McIntosh Henry. And when we came to assess you, you provided the Henry, but your TRN says McIntosh Henry. That could not be validated, and therefore you weren't verified and you have not received your text or your voucher. For those persons, we are working with the TAJ directly. It's about 9,000 assessments that have that issue. And that should be hopefully completely rectified within the next 2 weeks. So I want to say thank you to the TAJ team. They're working very hard to make sure that we can validate those TRNs, meaning to go through to see what the minor issues are and just rectify them so we can get you into the verified list and get you on the direct deposit information. So if you are in phase 2, it's direct deposit. For us to do the direct deposit, we need your banking information. If you're in phase 1 and we're completing you, of course, you go to the website, wepaytoday.com/MLSS/beneficiary, put in your TRN, get your status, get your update. It advises you where to go. If you don't want to use that option, you can also get into the phase 2. Because some persons have advised us, Minister, that they rather to get the cash than to get the material because they've either already repaired their home or they don't have any hardware in close proximity and they rather not spend some of that money to be traveling far away. So we've listened, we've heard all of the challenges, and this government has responded in terms of providing systems. I won't say that it is all simple, but they're comprehensive systems to assist us ensuring that we can provide you with the solutions to help you to restore as quickly as possible. We'll have another opportunity to go into further detail, but as I said, the Prime Minister is here, and it is his day. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Minister Charles, and thank you for cutting. I know you have a lot more to speak about and Jamaicans want to hear. We will bring him back next week, right, Minister? So now you will be hearing from the person that everybody wants to hear from, our wonderful Prime Minister, Dr. the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, who has been leading us through the post-Melissa period and doing it so wonderfully. NARA is something that is groundbreaking. As I was traveling last week, PM, I got a lot of questions about how we were reconstructing and other ideas from other countries. The world is looking at us, and I do believe that we have the right leader leading us into this new era and an era of opportunity. So please welcome our Prime Minister, Dr. the Most Honourable Andrew Holness.
Thank you, Minister. Let me acknowledge all who took the time to be here this morning. Cabinet press briefings are becoming quite an event. I noticed that students from UTech and other universities are joining us. Welcome. It's very important that you are a part of the, I like to use the term civics of the country, the public affairs. Very important. These days, there tends to be almost a popular view that it is not cool to be in politics, which is far from the truth. Being involved in the affairs of your nation is, in my opinion, the highest calling and the coolest thing that you can do. So I congratulate you for taking the time and participating. Just to hear what we have to say. We don't always reach the audience that you can reach. And sometimes they won't accept it from me, but they will accept it from you. So it's good to have you here. Let me acknowledge my ministers who are here and my permanent secretaries who are also here, and the various heads. You mean all of what I have said wasn't... and all the various heads of agencies who are here. First, let me say that the road to getting NARA approved was a difficult road. I see the CABSEC smiling in agreement because behind the scenes she did quite a bit of work coordinating and pulling everything together, because in the initial stages of NARA, the coordination, the organization, the administrative work that needed to be done, that was placed on the Cabinet Office for strategic reasons, because that is where that is the part of government that has reach into all of government, and therefore we utilized the resources of the Cabinet Office to get this done. So in my hands today is actually the law, physically represented. This is it's no longer the NARA bill, it's the NARA Act. And it has received this very beautiful seal. It's called the Royal Assent. We're going through a process to change up all of that, but until then, it is what it is. This is a Royal Assent, meaning that the Governor General has stamped the bill with the seal to say this is now law. So Parliament debated, Parliament made amendments, and voted, both houses, and passed the bill in the House, but it goes through one last phase. Some people say it's a formality. Not quite that, but an important part of our legislative process. And so now, NARA is fully legal. NARA is in effect. So it has given NARA its legal identity, its powers, its duties, and outlined clearly what are its functions. But this needs to be brought to life. And to do that, we have to appoint the people who will bring the bill, the act, to life. And I'm pleased today to announce that after a very extensive process where we advertised for the post of the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, it was advertised internationally. We received 120 applications from all over the world, 85 of which were specifically for the post of the CEO. Others would have applied maybe for both CEO and for some other position or for other positions, which were not yet advertised. We shortlisted 7, so you can imagine the involved process of filtering through all the applications. So we shortlisted 7, and these 7 persons were interviewed, 3 of whom were Jamaicans and 4 were international candidates: Australia, United States, the UK, and I don't remember the other country. The panel that conducted the review and the interview included the chairman of the PSC, that is the Public Services Commission, Pat Sinclair McCullough. I don't know if she was able to participate in all the deliberations, but she was a part of the panel. Then we had our cabinet secretary, who participated, Maria Thompson Walters from the TIU, that is the Transformation Implementation Unit in the Ministry of Finance. We had as well the esteemed Professor Gordon Shirley from the Port Authority of Jamaica, and Mr. Stephen Edwards from NROC. So they did quite a bit of work behind the scenes to ensure that the right selection was made. I was only informed of the end result, so just in case anybody thought that I kept a distance for good reason. The final decision came down to someone who has served the country very well. And the decision was to appoint Major General Anthony Anderson, who is now currently ambassador to the United States. Obviously, that will change. He was former Commissioner of Police and former Chief of Defense Staff. And as fate would have it, I had tasked him to review the state's response to Hurricane Beryl, which would have included a review of all the entities involved in the response, but specifically a review of ODPEM. So he is already in proximity to these issues. I can't go into the reasons for the selections. Obviously, they would have compared resumes, experience. But one thing I can say, I have great confidence in Ambassador Anderson. He would obviously have great skills in leading national institutions. He led two of the most important institutions in Jamaica, the JDF and the JCF. In both instances, he would have designed and implemented transformational programs in both institutions. He would have had the experience of working with international entities, both the IFIs, which are going to be critical, that is, international financial institutions, going to be very critical in this process, but with international contracting as well. He would understand the issues that are involved, understanding the local lay of the land, and I'm going to use the politics of the land, not the small politics, but the big politics, how to manage the stakeholders and the idiosyncrasies of Jamaican society. So he would be very well placed to address that. Importantly as well, he would have the confidence of the partners and stakeholders that would be critical for the success of NARA. So this appointment would necessitate some adjustments. We will keep you up to date as to the changes that would have to be made. I had a brief discussion with Tony last evening, and I welcomed him. The appointment will be effective the 1st of June. So we are on the road now with NARA. I had a discussion with him about, and I should say that Cabinet met yesterday till late evening to discuss the appointment, and we had a discussion around what should we title the position. The title is already in the law. It's the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. But I was thinking we need to ensure that the office is not characterized as a bureaucratic office where it's just pushing paper, signing off on documents. This is about executing, getting things done. In the original concept of the chief executive, that was the idea, the person who got things done. The board would deal with governance. The administrators deal with administration. But the CEO get things done. And so in the law, he's the chief executive officer, but I'm going to call him the chief executing officer, the man who will get things done. And that has to be a cultural change in Jamaica. We need to start paying attention to outcome and getting things done quickly. The rest of the world, that's how the rest of the world is thinking. We are lagging behind. And I'm saying this looking straight in the eyes of our UTech students. The next generation of Jamaicans, you must be the people who get things done. Now, the Cabinet also discussed the first set of projects that will form the register for NARA. We have finalized a short list. They will be compiled and published, I would say, in another week or so, just in time for the appointment of the new CEO. So you now have the Act, you will have the CEO in place, and the projects that are going to be part of that register of projects will be in place. Finally, we discussed the composition of the NROC, Jamrock. Stephen is head of NROC. Sorry, the Jamrock, that is the Jamaica Reconstruction and Resilience Oversight Committee. And we will publish the terms of reference and the names of the persons who we have invited to participate. So this will happen simultaneously with the appointment of the Chief Executive Officer, who I'm going to call the Chief Executing Officer. So we are all aligned now, and we are ready to go. 1st of June will be the effective start date of operations for NARA. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, PM, and that's a big announcement. I spoke to Ambassador this morning, and he was very, very happy. And he has noted a few things, and I should read those into the record for Cabinet today. In terms of, there's a press release that's going out, but just to hear Ambassador's voice. And he said the passage of Hurricane Melissa and the consequent financial arrangements have provided us with an opportunity to do national development at an unprecedented scale and with speed. However, despite the obvious urgency, proper planning, transparent contracting, and approval processes with structured, disciplined, time-bound execution must define this development. Multi-sectoral infrastructure programs must be synergistically integrated to maximize the impact of the spend and, crucially, to provide a platform for improved delivery of services, increased productivity, and economic growth. PM, I think he's been listening to you. So we congratulate Ambassador Anthony Anderson on this appointment. And as you heard, he starts on June 1, which is Monday. So you have the law in effect, and I think it was signed maybe a day or so ago. And now you hear who the CEO is, and the CEO starts on Monday. This is an administration that gets things done, and the Prime Minister has been saying it. With NARA, it's all about speed and efficiency, and we've been able to demonstrate that. So thank you, PM. Thank you, CAPSEC, too, for all the work that you've put into this. So we're going to move straight into questions. Today's a big morning. At 10 a.m., we have the Disaster Risk Management Council meeting. The hurricane season also starts on June 1, and it is important that we prepare, and I want to acknowledge the Honourable Desmond Mackenzie, who is here, our Minister of Local Government and Community Development, who will be leading on that council meeting with the Prime Minister. So we do have to get out of here, so I'm going to go very quickly into the questions. All right, so remember to say your name and your affiliation and then ask your question.
Good morning, everyone. Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News. Question for the Prime Minister. Today is May 27, 2026. NARA has been made law. We have our CEO now. So my question to you would be, what does May 27, 2027 look like now that the NARA has been established?
That's a good question. There are scarcely any project that you could execute, meaning bring to completion within a year, except, however, projects that have to do with the relocation of persons whose homes would have to be reconstructed. So that's target number one. Those issues that are close to people, close to the recovery and restoration of life and livelihood, those projects we want to get them off the ground right away, and by 2027 we should be saying that is complete. That's my immediate direction as well to the new CEO.
Were there any instances during the crafting and even the amendments made to the bill where a correction was brought up or a suggestion was brought up that you believed made what the bill became more robust than prior?
Firstly, let me say that no legislation is perfect, and there is always a battle for the better view, always. And we don't shy away from robust debate about what is the better view. However, I found that much of what was proposed came from a place of mistrust, of fear, and ignorance. And it clouded the public's understanding of what we were trying to achieve. From my position, I gave the directive to my members that we must not lose sight of the objective of creating an institution that can move with agility, speed, but at the same time respect the fundamental principles of fairness, inclusion, competitiveness, consultation. And I think we can do it. I don't think these principles are at odds with speed. We just have to rethink how we get these things done. But it's clear to me that there are a set of Jamaicans who don't want to see speed. They believe that if it didn't take long, it wasn't well done. And we need to change that culture. But there are also a set of Jamaicans who don't want to see NARA succeed. It's not in their political interest for NARA to succeed, and we must call them out. They hide under all kinds of names, claim to be parts of civil society when they are not. They are political activists, and we must call them by the name. And I stand here frankly and say that. But to your question, were there amendments that made sense? Of course. And those that did made it into the bill. For example, there was one comment about properly defining what is resilience. I mean, it didn't change the fundamentals of the bill, but it made it a better bill in terms of the understanding of what is the government seeking to do for resilience. And there were others, but it didn't change the fundamentals of what the bill was seeking to achieve.
And lastly, as you said earlier about a change of culture, given what NARA is set to achieve by, cutting some of that red tape and getting projects done quickly, do you see its success leading to a cultural shift within all government agencies to maybe take a page out of NARA's
It's very
book?
difficult to have culture change in a country like Jamaica because you have to, first of all, pass the political barrier. I mean, even when something makes sense, even when it's logical, it gets trapped into the political quagmire. Now, in a sense, that is what makes our democracy strong, but it is also what makes us slow. And so if we're going to have culture change, we need to have a change in our politics. There has to be things that are taken out of the political domain and we agree. And look, Trinidad has oil and natural gas. They have a natural resource. Guyana and Suriname, they have gas and they have a natural resource. Jamaica's bauxite, it's almost 50 years in, that is depleting. What is the resource that we have that is going to generate growth, that is going to fix the road, the hospital, the schools? Because somehow in the minds of the people, all of these things can be fixed without paying attention to what we produce. And until we get people to understand that efficiency is a resource in the same way that oil is a resource. And it is so telling that countries that have oil, if you look at Dubai and the Emirates and Saudi Arabia and all of them, what do you think they're trying to do? Get more oil? No, what they're trying to do is get more efficient. They're trying to build infrastructure and develop systems to attract people to come and live in their country, make their society more efficient, because that is the biggest asset. And what are the things that help efficiency? Technology. That's number one. But number two, it is a culture of getting things done. And that is what we don't have in Jamaica. We argue and quibble about everything. If you look at the debates that have taken place, not one of them spoke about getting things done quickly. Not one. And until there is a pivot and a shift, and the people who are the blockers and who feel that they're only important if they obstruct, until you take them out of the equation and bring up people who say, let me get this thing done right away, and we will get it done efficiently, we will build quickly and we will build well. Until we get that change, then we will be stuck in the mode of the 70s, 80s, 90s, the 2000s, where we are only getting 1%, 2%, or no growth. Growth also requires a mindset shift.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Prime Minister. Shoshana Small from the Gleaner. So there have been concerns about the bill, the oversight and the transparency mechanisms embedded in the bill. How confident are you in Anderson to carry out the mandate of this bill objectively? And you spoke extensively as well about the efficiency that this bill will bring forth in our reconstruction efforts. What are the time frames that we're looking at, especially, as you mentioned earlier, the projects that have to do with touching the people, reconstructing homes and so forth? What are the time frames that we're looking at to start seeing the results of this bill?
I don't think you heard what I said, but you had to ask your question. So let me repeat what I said earlier, and let me put it in another way. Hopefully the gleaner will carry it. Hopefully. Listen, Jamaica went through a period of time where it invested heavily in building out oversight and anti-corruption mechanisms. Jamaica, when compared to other countries in the region and even globally, has a very strong oversight and anti-corruption framework. Very strong. And we have recently strengthened that by empowering, well, standing up and resourcing the MOCA, because we don't pay enough attention to this other side of corruption and lack of oversight, things that are happening in the cyber world and organized crime. And that part of it, that's the most recent part, and they're doing very well in terms of ensuring that corruption does not impact the economy in a negative way. The Integrity Commission, they are doing their thing, and I don't speak about the Integrity Commission, so let me stop there. Then we have the PBMA, that is the Public Bodies Management Act, which is a very strong piece of legislation which governs how public bodies should conduct themselves. We have the FAA, which is the Financial Accounting and Administration Act. That one keeps not finding that one properly. The FAA, and then you have the Auditor General as well, and you have FID, and then policing all of that is the PAAC, that is the Public Appropriations and Accountability Committee, and headed by an opposition member, and then you have the PAC, right, which is also headed by an opposition member. So it's a very robust and comprehensive system of oversight and accountability. And then you're going to say to me, that when I set up a bill, I must now go and put in place another FAA. So the same provisions that are in the FAA and the PBMA that cut across all ministries and all legislation, I must go now and put those same things in this legislation. I must go and build another mechanism for the Auditor General, the FID, in other words, I must go and rebuild this again and create a very dense bureaucracy which we expect to move quickly. It doesn't make sense. If we invested in building out this very robust framework where we spend billions of dollars every year trying to guarantee the country accountability and probity, and then we go and do that again, the people who are recommended this don't have our best interest at heart. Don't. Let the systems that are in place, let them work. While the systems that are supposed to deliver speed and efficiency, let them work. But don't come to us and say we are going to have to build this architecture each time, over and over and over. That's why we're slow. And it's not just Jamaica that is suffering from this. It's a global thing. Technocracy and bureaucracy are real. They have political interests. They are self-interested and vested. They get funding to do this. That's the hidden part of this that the country doesn't see. Nobody writes an article about that. And somehow everybody is so self-righteous to be the defenders when nobody's trying to defend the people who are in need of their homes quickly, the country needing growth. These things have to be said, and I say them unapologetically. And I'm prepared to tackle all of them who are going to come out of the woodwork to deal with my statements. I'm prepared to deal with you.
We have one last question. It's from a student.
Yes, from UTEC.
Sure.
Good morning, Prime Minister. My name is Simonique Brown from the UTEC JA Students Union Council. And my question is, what safeguards do you have in measure? Because we know that NARA is now a law and not an act, right? What safeguards do you have in measure to ensure that our local contractors and workers will benefit from these projects?
Again, the local procurement legislation already defines a process by which local contractors get, I would say, an advantageous preference in some instances. So there is already a provision for that. Secondly, the issue of local contracting is one that we have to carefully think about. We have to carefully think about, because we don't have the capacity in Jamaica to take on large enterprise scale contracts. And that is a challenge which is directly related to the slow pace of growth that we have had over the last 4 or 5 decades. We have contractors who are developing very well, and I can identify a number of contractors who are doing very well and who, in my opinion, are poised to become enterprise-level global contractors, because they are investing in their talent, they are investing in their management, they are investing in technology, and they are investing in equipment. For NARA to work, the employees of NARA are not the ones who are going to break the ground, lay the blocks, lay the pipes. Contractors are the ones who are going to do it. And if they lay pipes and they break and we have to go back and fix it again, that's going to delay the project. So we need contractors who will be able to lay the pipes the first time and they don't break. We need contractors who will be able to take on huge projects and not small projects all over the place. We need contractors who will have the balance sheet to mobilize and fund their operations without, being almost over-reliant on the payouts of the government. And we don't have that as readily as we would like. But the question that you have asked is very important, because as a government, we need to engage the contractors to say, listen now, you are critical stakeholders and partners in this development game. Let us see how we can work together so that you can develop and then we get the skills. So government is very open and will lead this process of engaging with the contractors, because it's in our interest to have enterprise scale contractors. We want contractors who can operate at the highest level with the greatest efficiency. But unfortunately, it is not as widespread as we would like. But it's not for us to blame the contractors wholly. It is for us to say, with NARA in place, we're going to now need to set up a program where we can help you reach the enterprise scale so that you can compete globally and internationally with all the other firms for the contracts that NARA will issue.
Thank you, Prime Minister. And as I said, today we have a very historic day. It is the day we're announcing that the bill is no longer a bill, it's an act. And so students, when you go back and you're going to explain to everyone, you can say, you know, I was here with the Prime Minister and he showed what the act looks like, and you saw the seal from the Governor General. So it's now law. And then the Prime Minister has announced the CEO of NARA. And we're about to get started on a really historic time in Jamaica's history. And it's coming on a morning when next up is our Disaster Risk Management Council, because we are getting ready for another hurricane season. And this administration is one that believes deeply in God and knows that God is covering this country. But at the same time, we know that God asks us to act, and to act quickly. And that's what NARA is. NARA is about us understanding what the people in the West need and what our country needs to get to that space of development that we want. And so I thank you all for listening in this morning. Please listen in to the Disaster Risk Management Council meeting that will also be streamed, so you can see how we're preparing for the next hurricane season under the leadership of our Prime Minister. And so as always, I say to you, may God continue to bless this wonderful country, Jamaica, land we love. Thank you all.